everybody? Welcome to I'll Just Let Myself In with Lish Speaks. We are here today at the third episode of the second season, or whatever episode we edit this to be. But welcome to I'll Just Let Myself In with Lish Speaks. Excited today because we are going to talk about a topic that is so important to my personal development and maturation, and so important to the maturation of us all, I believe. The title of today's episode is Into Unlearning. Into Unlearning. We're going to talk about unlearning things to help us in relationship. You know, often we talk about what we need to do or become in order to be in healthy relationships, be it romantic or platonic or working. But we don't often talk about the things we need to stop doing or the things we need to unlearn. So today we're going to talk about unlearning in this episode, Into Unlearning. As you guys know, we have a segment here at I'll Just Let Myself In called What I'm Stepping In. And this is a segment where we look at my kicks for the day, my sneakers for the day, my shoes sometime for the day, and I talk about what I'm stepping in. And today I'm stepping in my lucky green threes. This is a Jordan 3 that came out in 2023. It's a women's shoe. And so it came out in women's sizes, a women's size run. But I love this shoe. It's a classic 3. It has all the elements of 3s that we love in a great, cool color. The Jordan emblem on the tongue is red, so it kind of goes with different looks. It has that green and red without giving you a Christmas vibe, though, so I like that. But the lucky 3s are comfy. They're cool. They give you a little bit of style and nostalgia. So y'all know how we do. If you like them, go get you some. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the idea of unlearning. And this idea is so important to me because as I started to mature, as I started to grow in different areas of my life, and as I'm continuing to do that, it has become incredibly obvious to me, so much so that I can't ignore it, that before I pack on more knowledge, there are several things I need to unlearn. And you know, nothing teaches you more about yourself than relationship. This is why I believe God doesn't intend for us to be alone. You know, we even see that in the garden. He said it is not good for man to be alone. And yes, he was talking in that case about a wife, but in general, it is not good for us to be alone. We need to be in relationship. One, we need it chemically, we need it emotionally, and there's tons of studies and scientific facts and statistics about all that. But we need it so that we can see the areas in our lives that we need to grow. And so over the last several years, as I have dated and gotten married, as I have built relationships with friends and family members, as I have changed jobs and spaces and just grown up and gotten older, I've seen that in my relationships, there were things that I needed to unlearn in order to have successful ones. So I'm going to outline a few of those today, and hopefully you guys can relate and really maybe hear yourself in some of these things and think about some of the things you guys want to unlearn. And I would love to hear from you all, you know, as you're listening to this episode, in the comments, on social media, go ahead and write. Let us know the things that you're unlearning and the things that you're working on. And we will definitely talk about them in later episodes so that we can continue this conversation. One of the things that I have had to unlearn is the practice of overextending. We think that showing up and doing and being around all the time makes us valuable, but a lot of times it makes people value us less. And it also does exactly what it sounds like it does. It overextends. So when you think about an extension, the whole point is for it to be able to bounce back, right? What is the point of an extension if it can't bounce back? Or even if you think about an extension cord, it is supposed to provide a certain level of power to an extent. But if you stretched out that extension cord longer than it went, you'd break it and it wouldn't be able to extend any power anywhere. And so many times in my life, in relationships, I have gotten into a space of overextending myself to the point where I felt underappreciated. And I've seen that it's an area of my life that if I didn't get under control, which I feel like I have it under control right now, but I feel like if I didn't get it under control, it was going to not only hurt me, but hurt the relationships that I was in. One of the things that I practice right now in relationships and friendships, especially friendships, because you're going to overextend yourself in marriage sometime, and so is your spouse. But if you have balance, that shouldn't be the case all the time either. But in friendships specifically, I do all that I am okay with doing without reciprocity. So here's what I mean by that. In the past, I would do, show up, call, fill in the blank for a person, regardless of what they were willing to or able to. Because sometimes a person is not able. It's not that they are not willing. They are unable to show up for you in a certain way, in a certain season. But I would do. And then when a person was not willing or able to do what I was doing, I would grow hurt. I was going to say resentment, but it wasn't quite resentment, but hurt. I would feel hurt. And what I realized is I need to continue to be myself because I'm that friend. I'm going to call. I'm going to check up. If something beautiful happens in your life, I'm going to call you. I'm not just going to text you. I'm not just going to congratulate you on social media. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call you. And I'm going to say, yo, I saw you got this opportunity or yo, whatever. And I'm that friend that will do those things. I'm going to check in. I can have a million things going on in my life. I'm still going to at least say, hey, you good? You all right? Especially if I see signs pointing to the fact that you might not be all right. And I had to realize that I don't need to lose that, but I don't need to do it past the point that I need it back. So what I mean by not giving past the point of reciprocity is if I can call you 10 times without you calling me back and not feel away, but if I call you 11 times and you don't call me back, I'm going to feel away, I'm just going to stop at 10. The old me will call you 25 times and feel away if you don't call me back. And I have realized that people are going to be who they are. Either they are unwilling or cannot. They don't have the capacity to show up for you in a certain way. So you cannot overextend yourself with any expectation, desire, or even need. I think sometimes people get a bad rap. Oh, you should do things without expectation. That's unrealistic. Everyone does everything. You go to work expecting a check. Let's be for real. But you do need to do things to the point where you will be okay if they are not reciprocated, especially in relationship. Because sometimes you don't get filled from the same place you pour into. You might be giving a whole lot to this one person, but the person that fills you up is someone completely different and vice versa. And so I've really learned that something I had to unlearn in order to have healthy relationships is overextending myself. And although it is a journey, although it is a process, I really do feel happier when I do what is natural to me, what I really want to do, and when I stop myself, even though my overextending nature and my desire to be there for people can make me want to do certain things, I stop myself and I often feel so much better than when I didn't stop myself. I feel so much more peaceful. I feel at peace, with whatever happens. And it allows me to, and it's also good for the person too, because it allows them to not feel the pressure of disappointing you. It's like they know they can show up when they're ready to show up, how they're ready to show up. You're not judging them. You're not whatever. And both people are happy as opposed to, the person who can't necessarily show up for you the way that you would expect them to, or the way that you would show up for them, feeling like they gotta walk on pins and needles about how you feel about them not showing up for you. It's just not helpful for anybody. And so don't overextend yourself to the point where you need reciprocity. But in that, don't stop being who you are. I am a person who cares about the people I care about. I'm not going to be petty and not reach out to you because you didn't reach out to me. Because here's the thing about that. And if you're like me, you know this. That stresses you out still. You're still stressed out. Because you still like, they still haven't reached out to me. And I can't live like that. I can't play the devil's games. If it's in my heart to reach out to you, I'm going to reach out. If you don't reach back out for 2-3 days, if I don't hear, it's all good. I'm here when you're ready and I'm cool. And I've had to realize too that it's also okay for me. Oh, this is real. It's also okay for me not to be available. Like, it's okay. Because a lot of times when you're the available friend or when you're the friend, you feel whenever the person finally does reach out to you or finally is able that you have to be available. And you don't. You know what I mean? If I'm doing something, if I'm busy, if I'm tired, it's okay. I have to respect my own needs and emotions the same way that person does, And I just feel like it makes for better relationships all around. I believe that God puts us in relationship, specifically friendships, with people who have the strengths that are our weaknesses. And so sometimes when I'm different from a friend in a certain way, I realize, oh, there's something I should take from that. There's something I should learn from that. And that's one of the things I've learned is to take my time and to do what is good for me emotionally. Because you will grow resentment toward a person who does what they need to do for them if you're not doing what you need to do for you. But if you're doing what you need to do for you, you have no problem accepting a person doing what they need to do for them. And it doesn't mean that you don't call people higher. It doesn't mean that you don't tell people when they disappointed you. It doesn't mean that you don't say, hey, I wish this or that. But it means you're okay with it. You can live with it. And so I've practiced this a lot over the last year. And I've grown a lot. And even people in my life have shared with me, you've grown. And I just appreciate the unlearning that I am currently doing. And what I was talking about just now leads me into my next thing, which is you have to unlearn unrealistic expectations. And this one is big for friendships, but really for romantic relationships. There's a lot, I'm going to speak to women because I'm a woman. I talk to a lot of women and their expectations for their significant others are astronomical. And I'm like, did we forget that they're human beings? Did we forget that they're people? Did we forget that they have feelings? Did we forget that they have needs other than sexual and physical? And it's just really, really important that we manage our expectations for the people in our lives because they're only human. One of the things I had to, learn when I was dating my husband, we were long distance for some time, as many of you know. And he was just not a phone person when we first started dating. And he became one because, he was in love. But I had to really manage, there would be days, and I was just talking to a friend about this because one of my friends is in a long distance relationship, a new long distance relationship, and she called me to get advice. And she was talking about, her boyfriend, sometimes his schedule and this and this and that. And I was saying, I could probably count on both my hands for the year and a half we were long distance, days where my honey would be like, listen, I'm tired. We're going to have to keep it short tonight. I would be in my feelings, y'all, in my feelings, because we already long distance. What you mean you don't want to talk for long? I've been waiting to talk to you all day. But what I had to realize was this is a man who is talking all day for a living. This is a man who is, at the time, working super hard to get me the ring I want, to move here, to provide a life for us. He's allowed one day a month where he don't want to talk on FaceTime for 2 hours. It's okay. You know what I mean? I had to check myself because I had unrealistic expectations of romance. You're supposed to want to talk to me all the time. You're supposed to want to, but I don't even want to talk to him all the time. We live in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, and my husband works from home. So one of the rooms is his office. And so when we first got married, I felt like I didn't have a space because when he would go into his office to work or to work on things or to do whatever, I would be like, all right, cool, he's in his office. But then when he would come out, he wants to talk and I'm just available to him. And, my husband is frisky. He likes to have a good time. My husband, he wants to joke and play and tickle, and he just likes to have fun. I don't want to embarrass him, but our house is very fun, and when he's doing his business and in his his element, that's where he's at. He don't really bother me. But as soon as that's done, he wants to play, he wants to talk, he wants to watch TV, he wants whatever. And I started feeling like, dang, I don't have a place to go. I go in the bedroom, you just come pop up in there, just, hey, babe, what you do? I'm sitting in the living room, you come sit down, you talk to me. And I was like, man, I kind of need a place. And then I realized, oh, you don't even want to talk all the time. But you want him to be ready to talk whenever you want him to be ready to talk. Unrealistic expectations. Things that just don't serve you. And I think even with, us talking about being in relationship, this one, the unrealistic expectations bleeds into every relationship we have. I think about even my relationship with my parents sometime. Having this expectation that they will just get it and they'll just, not say things they're not supposed to say or not do things or do things the way I want. And I'm like, at the end of the day, my mom is a little girl and my dad is a little boy that just grew up. The same way I got stuff from childhood that I'm working through. And to be quite honest, we need to be a lot more gracious in this generation because we're a lot further than our parents emotionally. They are very emotionally underdeveloped. And this is no shade, not just to my parents, but to any of our parents. They did not grow up in a space where they could emote. They did not, and not only did they not grow up in it, even in their adulthood. I'm in my 30s. In my mother's 30s, she had 3 kids. Who has time to feel? I got to go to work. I got 3 kids. I'm a single mom. Feelings, girl, sit down. And I think my mom actually did pretty well for the tools that she had. But I'm very aware that I can't have unrealistic expectations about her level of understanding or her level of emotional intelligence for me. I need to have compassion. I need to be able to be honest with her. But I can't have unrealistic expectations that cause me to feel more upset than is necessary at certain things. Grace. When you have unrealistic expectations, you forfeit grace. Because why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? I've heard people say, I don't want to have to tell a man how to treat me. Well, how you think he's supposed to know? I'm not saying you got to tell him every single thing, but you are a very specific human. You are different than his exes. You are different than his friends. How is he supposed to know every single thing to do for you or to you to make you happy? Come on, be for real if you're going to be anything. We really have to manage our expectations of people and their abilities to show up for us. And so something I've had to unlearn in marriage, in friendships, in my relationships with my parents, in my relationships with my siblings, my friends, just people in my life, is to not have unrealistic expectations, to manage my expectations. That does not mean you don't have any expectations. I hate this whole narrative on the internet of you should do everything without expectations. And a lot of successful people will talk and say, I just have no expectations of anyone. I have no expectations. I think that's a very low vibrational way to live. I have expectations. I also am okay with you not meeting them or not being able to meet them. I have grace. But I think instead of having no expectations or unbelievably high expectations, we need to have the accurate expectation for the situation and for the person that we are dealing with. And I think that it will give us a lot more peace in relationships. And one of the things that helps you unlearn unrealistic expectations is unlearning impatience. And that's the third thing that I've had to, I'll be unlearning that for the rest of my life, but that I'm trying to unlearn is impatience. Impatience with the people in your life robs them of the opportunity to come up. If you are the type of person who requires elevation of yourself on a consistent level, right? I'm the type of person, I'm always trying to be better. I'm always trying to grow and be better and do better and learn more. And most people who spend consistent time around me start to feel that way as well. But what I've learned over the years is I have to have the patience for people to come up to where they're trying to get to. Like, what I'm trying to say is this. If your friendship or your companionship requires people to pull up, requires people to say, hey, you can't lie around me. You can't gossip around me. I'm not, I don't do that. I'm not going to lie for you. Or, hey, I love you, but you can't speak to me like that. And I don't really like when you speak to other people like that around me. Hey, you can call me to vent, but I'm also going to tell you where you're wrong. And I'm also going to tell you what you need to do to fix it. Hey, you can call me to talk about certain things, but I'm also going to share with you solutions. And I'm not just going to listen to you vent. That takes time for people because most people don't have friendships like that. Most people don't have friendships like that. So when you are that kind of person, there's a pulling up of themselves that people have to do when they want to be in close relationship with you. The issue is that a lot of people who operate that way don't have patience for people who don't operate that way. And so you end up alienating people because they just feel like they're bothering you or that you think that you're better than them or whatever. And I've had to learn that pulling people up is a grace, it's a privilege. And so you need to operate with patience. You can't be an impatient person who wants to help people get better. And I also have unlearned or been unlearning impatience because it's a form of arrogance. Because there's something in your life, something in your heart, something in your character that you need somebody to be very patient with you about. I need my husband to be very patient with me about certain areas of my character. You know what I mean? Very patient. And if he was saying, well, I'm this way and you need to come up to where I'm at in this area, just to be very vulnerable, my husband is so much better at financial planning than I am. Just not a strength of mine. You know what I mean? I'm always going to make sure I got some food and some lights and some gas. But other than that, let's buy the sneakers. That was kind of the way that I lived before I met him. And he has taught me so much about financial literacy and wisdom and responsibility. I'm a grown woman, but in the last year of my life, I've learned so much about, okay, but what is a responsible decision? Not just what's a decision you can make, but what's the most responsible decision in this situation, and patience and all that stuff. And if he was impatient with me or annoyed with me or frustrated with me because I didn't have his level of financial intelligence, it would make me very insecure. And so I've learned that in the areas where he needs to pull up and come up to where I'm at, I need to be patient. Because what happens is the impatience pushes people away and then you never get to where you could go. But if you're patient with people, they really do come up. And it's beautiful because you can come up together. And last but not least, one of the things that I am unlearning that I believe is helping me in my relationships is selfishness. I'm unlearning selfishness. Now, if you ask me, am I a selfish person? I would always say, no, I'm not a selfish person. But what I've learned in trying to unlearn selfishness is that there are times where I let what I need and want guide every decision I'm making. And on some level, we need to, have self-preservation, and we do need to let our needs and desires guide us. But if your desires and your needs and your wants are guiding every single decision that you make on a daily basis, there is selfishness in your life. And you got to check it. One, selfishness allows you to knowingly or unknowingly take advantage of people. Because you're going to do what's best for you. So regardless if it hurts this person or not, regardless if it's going to disappoint this person or not, you are not going to take the necessary steps to do what's best in anyone's interest but yours in that moment. And sometimes that looks like, making a poor decision about something that I eat. Sometimes that looks like knowing that I should, check in on someone or return a call and just not doing it. Sometimes that looks like me just shutting down and not wanting to talk about my feelings when I know that I need to share with either a friend, my husband, somebody that I'm struggling that day. And I'm learning that selfishness will really rob me of my relationship. See, we think that selfishness means I don't want to share my candy, my food, my time. I'll do all of that. It's a heart posture that I've dealt with that really has to go. In order for me to have a genuine, deep relationship, for me to have genuine, deep friendships, there's a level of selfishness that I've had to unlearn. And I think these 4 things, amongst many, many others, are part of the stepping stones to start unlearning so that we can become who we want to be in relationships. I am very blessed. I have great friends, great family. I think about, our wedding, and I had 10 bridesmaids, and every single woman in that wedding I've either known since I was born or known them for over 15 years. No, it was no new friends. No, it was people that I have deep relationships with. And it's so funny because when people ask me, how do you have so many friends? And how do you have such deep, long relationships? And how are you still best friends with the person who you've been friends with since the first grade and all these different things? I always say that it's because I'm a good friend. But what I've learned and what I'm learning in this season is because I'm an evolving friend. I'm a friend that is growing. I'm a friend that messes up and apologizes. I'm a friend that will show up for you in the best possible way I know how. And if I show up in a way that wasn't helpful or that you felt like I could have did better, I'm always trying. And I think I can say the same for many of the women in my life. They're not perfect, but they are evolving. And with evolution comes unlearning. You are not evolving if you're not unlearning. In fact, unlearning in some seasons is more important than learning. Because if you don't empty out some of the stuff in the trash, you can't put more stuff in there, And so we're always needing to fill our cups. But sometimes if you fill to overflow, you make a mess, right? You need to empty some things out and make space. And I think that unlearning makes that space. I think unlearning taps on our humility. It helps us to remember, I don't know everything and I'm not always right. And the way that I do everything is not always right. And I need to unlearn these behaviors. Unlearning will allow you to apologize easily. I have no problem apologizing because I know I don't know everything. And I know that there were things that I was doing 10 years ago that I absolutely thought were the best, right, the most spiritual thing that today I'm like, I can't believe I ever did that. I can't believe I ever said that. So I'm foolish to think that everything I'm doing today is right and just and super spiritual, when in 10 years from now, hopefully, I'm unlearning some of the stuff I'm doing now. The goal is to always be evolving, to be closer to the people who God has actually called us to be. And my prayer is that as I go into unlearning, as I continue into unlearning, I'll always be open to what God actually is saying to me and to the things that are not serving me, but more importantly, not serving him and his goal and agenda in my life. And so that's into unlearning. We ask a question at the end of our show here. In the grand scheme of things, what do we want our legacy to be? And in this particular topic for me, I want my legacy to be that I never stopped unlearning. I want to be an old lady saying, the way I used to think about that was wrong. I'm going to think about it this way. I'm going to try it this way. Because I believe that every day that we wake up is a chance for us to get something right. And the first step to getting something right is realizing you might be getting it wrong. And so I want my legacy to be that I'm consistently unlearning and evolving into the woman that God has created me to be. This has been another episode of I'll Just Let Myself In with Lish Speaks. I'm so grateful that you've joined us. You guys know the drill. Go ahead and follow, like, subscribe, leave us a review. Tell us how you feel about the podcast. Share it with a friend and make sure that we're spreading the word and growing this community. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And we'll be back same time, same place next week. Peace.
Yeah, I might have a great day. Don't bring no trouble my way.